meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. All members are present. Approval of the agenda. We have one addition underneath the consent agenda, temporary extension of outdoor liquor permit for Legion. Is there any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that addition?
Motion.
Motion by Heidi.
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes, August 1st, 2018 regular meeting. You received them in your packet. Is there any changes, corrections, clarification? If nothing, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 1st, 2018 regular meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane, do a second.
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Now brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council? Is there anyone here that would like to address the council? Is there anyone here that would like to address the council? Seeing no one, our public open forum is now closed. We have no public hearings. We will then go into reports and presentations, bond results, Northland Securities. George?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I had passed out prior to the meeting a bond sale results report, and I'll hit some of the highlights there. When I was with you at the July 18th meeting, the council approved a resolution calling for a sale of bonds to take place today. And this sale of bonds, as we reviewed at that time, is for the North Street and Getty Street projects. And if I could direct you to page 3 of the handout, it says Exhibit A, tabulation of bids. We received financing bids from 4 different firms this morning at 10:30. And what we do is we base the award on the far right-hand column, which is true interest cost. And very favorable interest rates, I'll tell you, 2.84% with the Baker Group out of Oklahoma City is a very strong result. We must have been conservative when I was here July 18th because just for a comparison, it was 3.3% at that time. So nice reduction. This actually is again, very nice to see 4 bidders for one, and then 4 bidders that are close together as well. So we've got a nice grouping of bids. If I could actually have you flip back one page to page 2. I'd like to go to the bottom of the page, bond rating, and certainly we've talked about this before, that the city has a very strong bond rating, a AA- rating with Standard & Poor's. So we put down a few of the strong bullet points that go into the assignment of that rating. Strong budgetary performance with operating surpluses in the general fund and at the total governmental fund level. Very strong available fund balances and very good liquidity with total available cash at multiples of your overall expenditures in your funds. So those are, again, very strong points that go into the assignment of a AA- rating. As I've noted in the past, to be in that AA category is a very good accomplishment. Other municipalities within that AA category are considered very strong credits. So congratulations to the city for maintaining that. And as we noted As well, the state's rating was assigned on top of this because this is a project primarily for utility-related projects. So we can tap into the state's credit enhancement program, which is rated AAA. So when the investment banks were considering bidding on your bonds, they saw not only your AA minus underlying rating, but your AAA enhanced rating. So that is one of the reasons why the results are so favorable. Other things to note is when we took the bonds out for sale, they were $100,000 more. We went out with a $3,450,000 bond, and now we're at $3,350,000. So I'll just explain briefly here where that $100,000 went. If I could direct you to the page 8, which says pricing summary. Most of that is that $100,000. I'll just explain a little bit. About $80,000 of it comes from what's called bond premium, and I'll explain that on this page. The other $20,000 approximately is from the underwriters working for less than what we allowed. When we take a bond out for sale, we put an amount. Here's what you can work for. And so in a competitive environment, which it was, they bid less, meaning their compensation was less by about $20,000. So it's that combination of less compensation and bond premium. So on this page, there's two columns. One is the coupon and one is the yield. The yield is the actual market for AA minus or AAA enhanced rated bonds, starting at a 1.65 and gradually climbing to a 3.05 15 years later. To the left of that is the coupon. That's what the city will pay interest at on your bonds. Investors in the current bond market like to pay a premium to earn at that higher rate, the coupon rate. And so that's the premium. So that's right around $80,000. And that comes in as revenue to the city. What we do is we take that $80,000 and downsize the bonds. So that was a large part of the $100,000 reduction in the principal amount of bonds. So the effect of it is that you pay at a higher interest rate, the higher coupon rate, but now you're borrowing $100,000 less. So it washes each other out. It's just a little explanation there about where that $100,000 went to. So again, you still net the same dollar amount for construction needs. It's just the dollar amount that you borrow is less. So Mayor and Council, as later on in your agenda, you'll have a resolution on your agenda again. Approval of that locks in or approves the Baker Group as the low bidder and approves all the parameters, the structure, et cetera, of the financing. So again, very favorable sale today. This makes my job easier when I can come back and say, hey, interest rates are better than they were a month ago, and you're the recipient of a very strong bond rating. So any questions that I can address for you?
Questions? Comments? With that type of report, I don't really think there should be. No. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Thanks. Police Department. Brian?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Activity report for July 2018. Some of the numbers we had 18 administrative citations given out, and that was mostly during the St. Clair Lewis days. A lot were given out for open containers in the back of the bars and public urination. We had 13 alarm calls. We did 30 personal assist. We did 40 assists for businesses. We had 31 assists for other agencies. We had 49 citizen contacts. We gave out 10 citations for small amount of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. We had 9 no pay for gas. We had 12 intoxicated person calls, 6 juvenile problem calls, 26 medicals, 3 missing person calls, 25 suspicious calls. And verbal disputes, we had 8 verbal disputes, did 11 welfare checks. We gave out 253 verbal warnings. So we had a total of, we had 616 ICRs for a total of 869 for the month. And of course, we had Sinclair Lewis Days and the fair right back to back. Sinclair Lewis Days, I think, went really well. Probably the biggest crowd I think I've seen for a Friday night event. And then everything seemed under control for that. And then Saturday's event with the parade and street dance, I think it all went really well, minus the couple other things there we had. And so, we had good weather for that. Fair went pretty quiet. We had a few lost, missing kids, and that was about it. A few medicals. So it was pretty good. A couple weeks in a row there. A lot of people in town for that. So
Yep.
that's all I have.
Questions? Comments? Good
Thank you.
job, Brian.
Thank you.
Park Board report.
So the Park Board met in regular session on Tuesday, August 7th. They heard a presentation from Nathan Sauk of Troop 25 on a proposal to donate and install 3 benches by the playground in Sinclair Lewis Park, and you do have an action on accepting that later. They did talk about the dog park progress. They did review the Red Schoolhouse location ideas. They discussed the proposed Comet Spinner location that we had talked about earlier. They do recommend some renovations to J.C. Park Playground that could include replacing the old wood play structure, rejuvenate and replace the safety surfacing, install a border, maybe sandblast and paint the old metal type play structures. It's something that the Park Board will be working on. They do have a recommendation that areas near children's playgrounds that be designated no smoking, and they continue to seek a Park Board member to fill the vacancy. So a couple different items there that you'll see later on in your agenda.
Questions? And I think I did get one person that was interested in the Park Board position, so
Okay.
come through today, so. Operations Committee.
The Operations Committee met on Thursday, August 9th. We discussed some remaining proposed 2018 capital purchases and also the proposed 2019. They did recommend the city hold off on the purchase of the new loader right now. We do have a new person potentially starting, and we'll revisit that. They did look at the 2019 to 2022 CIP plan, which will be incorporated into the budget. We did, again, discuss the garbage collection a little bit, and they do recommend bidding both the 2 and the 5-year option like we talked about before. Also, to continue with the burn plan for the brush rather than the chipping of it, and that we look at maybe screening the compost. And so we're getting some estimates on that. They do recommend the development of perhaps a commercial permit in the fee schedule. When we get work on the fee schedule, maybe we should have a commercial permit for dumping whether the clippings or the brush, because we have some commercial haulers that come in, and maybe that can help us recoup some costs to offset the screening. And they did look at the 2019 potential mill and overlay or microseal projects. And then also we did look at a couple options of flashing crosswalk signs. So that was the activity of the Operations Committee.
Questions? Comments? Okay. Public Works Department report.
Public Works, a couple other things. I reported before that the sweeper was in the shop, but it is back and it's been out on the street. We're also, you knew that the notices had gone out on the sidewalks, and so we are working with homeowners. Some of them have gotten back to us, some of them are being repaired now. And so we'll try to get those sidewalks done, earlier this year than normal. We do have our next round of spraying that's going to be starting. Some of you may have noticed that the curb line weeds, are growing up. So those are kinds of things that they will be getting at. The Compass Rose was done at the airport on Sunday, if any of you have been out there to see it, and I believe the paper has an article that'll be coming out as well. And it's a 70-foot wide compass that's painted out there on the apron. And of course, there's some miscellaneous mowing for some vacant properties, and that they will be billed. I know some people are asking us, well, what do you do when you go mow that lot or whatever? Well, they do get billed for that, and so we do recoup our costs. We did burn the brush pile. You may have noticed that. The timing was such that we were also getting smoke from Canada, so I don't know if anybody really noticed that the brush pile was being burned. We did, they did kind of repile the chips down there so residents can pick them up, the older chips from when we cut trees that are there. They are working on getting that water, and maybe the water heater's already installed at the arena, or they needed parts, I'm not sure. So they worked on that. They have been doing some tree cutting. You've probably seen them out doing tree cutting around. One of our seasonal employees is done for the year, so he's gone back to college. We still have the other one that'll work a little bit while longer. And let's see, what else? The Lincoln Loop storm sewer that was open for quite a while, that got put in today. So we do have the pavement that'll have to go down other than that. And we're starting to work on getting some sand hauled in, to mix with salt, because it's that time of the year that'll be coming. So those are just kind of some of the activities of the Public Works Department. I'm sure I've missed a few, but I'll kind of keep you in the loop on that.
Questions, comments? I think things have been going fairly smooth, and I definitely like the reports.
Yes.
'Cause I've been getting a lot less questions from the public on what's happening, so. Okay, we will then move on to action items. Approve Resolution 2018-65, the bond sale.
This is the subsequent to the report that was given by George Eilerson regarding the bond sale. And what it is, it provides for the issuance and sale of a $3.450 million general obligation improvement bond, Series 2018A. And I don't know if you had any further questions about that. The one I handed you tonight is the same resolution, just with all the numbers from today's bond sale filled in. But it you can see the amortization schedule and everything follows through into the resolution.
Questions? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2018-65, providing for the issuance and sale of $3,450,000 in general obligation improvement bonds, Series 2018A?
So moved.
Motion by Keith, do I have a second? Second by Diane. Any other comments?
Just want to make the 3,000,003.
Oh,
Oh, that's right,
Oh,
Oh, my gosh.
$3,350,000. Thank you.
yeah, the new one tonight will
right,
say
yep.
3,350. The one in the
That's
packet is the
right.
old one.
Any other questions, comments?
need new motion?
Well, I don't know, you just moved what he said, he corrected it, so
It's up to you.
you make an amendment to the
Make an
update number,
amendment
that's
to
fine,
your
yeah.
old motion.
I would make an amendment noting the difference in price.
$3,350,000.
Right.
Okay,
And I'll second it.
all right. Motion and second side. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7B, approve resolution 2018-66, accepting benches.
As I told you in the Park Board report, Nathan Masog of Troop 25, he did come to the Park Board and made a presentation to install park benches near the play structure. We do not have benches there, so it's a nice idea. People are trying to drag picnic tables. This is his Eagle Scout service project. So we do have Eagle Scouts on occasion come in and want to do service projects. The proposal would be to install 3 benches in concrete in 3 areas. I did include a copy of his proposal, and he will work with Public Works staff on the final location. But it's the benches that are similar to the ones at the band shell. Only I believe these are 3 4-foot-long ones instead of the 6-foot-long ones. And he did, in his presentation, show 3 locations around that, and I talked to the staff about it, and they have some ideas to tweak it a little bit, just to make it easier to get equipment through for mowing and making sure we get our distances for safety and that. But he is planning on, after we accept this, then it takes about a month for the bench to get here. Their intent is to have them installed yet this fall. So we have Resolution 2018-66, accepting the contribution.
Questions, comments?
Look like very nice benches.
Yeah.
And I think the locations marked in the pictures here look
Yep.
like very
good.
ideal
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah, it's nice
Yep.
when your kids are there, you place to sit.
Right,
Yeah, but I know the Park Board, it was unanimous.
yeah. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2018-66, accepting the donation?
Motion to accept.
Motion by Dave,
I'll second.
second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve pay request number 3, Breitbach.
This is, Stantec has submitted on behalf of Breitbach, pay request 3. This is for the 2018 North Improvement Project. The value completed to date was, at the time of this request, was $777,561.43. Once you remove that 5% retainage, there would be a subtotal owed to him of $738,683.36, of which we've paid $376,454 in the past. So that leaves an outstanding amount due with this request of $362,229.25. And so that is the request of this pay request number 3 to Breitbach.
Questions?
No, but these numbers don't match up either.
No.
You
362,229.
got 36 minus 1 second. One penny is not going to be 25 cents. 35. It's like 35 cents.
35, yeah.
The pay request is on the next page too. You
Yeah.
can see it there.
Okay, any other comments? Do I have a motion to approve pay request number 3 for $362,229.35?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Keith. Any other comments, questions? Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Unfinished business, purchase of Comet Spinner.
As you know, the council had tabled the purchase of the Comet Spinner that the 2 Girl Scout troops donated funds to the city to purchase. It was tabled at the last meeting because a later idea was proposed that they be used toward a proposed fitness park fitness challenge park in the future. The park board did talk about it, and they felt that the original plan should be honored because they accepted the funds for that purpose, and the Girl Scouts that have now left town or whatever, that are no longer part of that group, it was their intent that this is what it would be used for. So we're just looking to authorize us to proceed with that purchase.
Questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to authorize the purchase of the Comet Spinner?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Policy for stormwater control credits.
As you know, we have that stormwater utility ordinance, and so we have been, it's just kind of been ongoing. The council is aware that someone had requested that the city consider a credit, and so we have gathered up information from some other cities, and the policy committee will be meeting now to go over those and come back with a proposal for a policy so that someone can apply. So just kind of so you're aware that that's something that's going to be coming down the pike. There's no action tonight.
Questions?
So you've got some ideas?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
There's a lot of cities that do it,
okay.
and so we're just trying to find one that fits us the best, and also working with the League of Minnesota Cities on it.
Okay, thank you.
8C, interview committee, public works supervisor.
The application deadline was today for the Public Works Supervisor. It was at noon. We do have 15 applications, and so now we would like the Personnel Committee, staff and the Personnel Committee will be ranking them with the T&E schedule and selecting those for interview, so that we need tonight is maybe establish a committee for that. Who's ever interested in wanting to serve on the interview committee, and trying to be thinking about who that might be, whether it's the Personnel Committee, whether you want to bring some other people in from the outside, or what you're thinking. And so we can put that together. And what'll happen first is we'll be going through the ranking criteria, and then we will be setting, once we get the committee together, we'll be setting a date, and then we'll have to call everybody and get them brought in. So kind of a process. We're still on task for the timeline that we had anticipated.
What was, excuse me, what was that timeline to have interviews completed by?
We were going to have the interviews completed by probably the first week of September.
Okay.
You know, it was our intent at that meeting, I think, is at whatever that second meeting in September is, would be the date that we would like to be prepared to have an agreement with somebody to appoint them.
Okay.
So,
Okay, you want a recommendation on the committee now, or?
I think the board should probably set the committee.
Okay.
Or if you think you want me to go out and find some outside people in that field to interview, then I could do that as well.
What did we do when Matt was hired?
Personnel Committee.
We had
Only?
the- Pardon me? Oh, yeah, the personnel, I think Brian Frederick was in it too, yeah.
Right.
The Personnel Committee.
Yeah, I think it was Brian and
Yeah.
myself. So, I'm willing to be doing it
Well,
again.
still,
I
the
think
personnel committee makes sense.
Personnel
It
committee
always
would-
has,
Yeah.
so.
Definitely.
Personnel Committee, and then do we want one or two outside?
Okay, well, we'll get it set up.
Not sure who we can get for that.
I know,
Yeah.
that's the other
You know, I
question.
don't know if somebody from Melrose or something like that might want to be interested in it.
We get somebody in the field,
In the
Right.
field.
somebody that
Yeah.
is aware of that position. Okay.
Okay. New business, Sauk Center Public Utility Commission.
Okay, so this is on here as new business, so there will be no action taken tonight, but with the, both the superintendent of the public utility is vacated, as well as the public works supervisor vacated on this side, you know, there's an opportunity to merge if we so chose to maybe have a potential combined position. So we did put this on the agenda for discussion. Just kind of a little bit of background, in 1989 is kind of where the ordinance was passed, kind of creating that commission and giving them the authorities that we have. And then in 1995, the city sewer department was also given over to the utility. How this would actually work, you know, first of all, I mean, there's a lot of conversations that would have to happen.
I got to interrupt before you go further, though, but what happened in 1989? Because the Light and Power Commission was formed 100 years ago.
The Light and Power
Water
was-
Light and Power Commission was formed in the 1920s.
Right, but when the city delegated certain powers to them, and the
So
ordinance.
something changed in 1989.
Right, in 1989 was when we became a statutory city,
All right.
and so
it
that,
wasn't
that
necess-
triggered the setup
All
had
right,
to
so
be
it's not
changed.
necessarily that anything changed, but we became a statutory city. I'm sure we had to reaffirm everything.
And when we became a statutory city, we had to make sure that everything that was set up abided by statute as well.
Right,
It's
okay.
kind of, that's where the change was. So anyway, so what, the statute says certain ways that, you know, once you create a commission like that, how the commission can become back part of the city, being a recommending board, kind of like the planning commission or whatever, and it involves a vote of the voting public. So the city, if the boards got together and decided, yeah, let's do this, there's some benefits to do it, then it has to go onto a ballot, and then once it gets on the ballot, then it has to have a certain percentage of people have to vote in the affirmative. The ordinance that we created, or the city created in '89, said that 2/3 of the registered voters had to vote in the affirmative. The statute says, it says a majority of those voting. So there is differences there, but our ordinance is more strict, which we have the right to do, and that I believe is probably one of the reasons why they set it up that way, because we are more strict than statute, which they're allowed to do. So it's kind of it's a high hurdle to pass, and I think it was designed that way so that there was some consistency in it. But I wanted to put it on here for discussion, because people have asked me to put it on for discussion, simply because that opportunity exists out there to maybe combine and maybe have some efficiencies. And so that is why it's here for your discussion. If you want to discuss it tonight, if you want to have a later discussion, if you want to have a later meeting, you know, that's certainly up to you.
Comments?
I
Questions?
guess my question is why we would do that. I mean, that it's never been part of the city. The implication of bringing it back to the city seems misleading because it was never part of the city. In fact, when it was formed, it was so isolated that the commissioners were appointed by a panel of judges from the district court. Was that? Oh, I'm not chasing, yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that it's never been part of the city. So to say put it back in the city seems misleading. And when it was first formed, it was so isolated, you know, the people who formed it wanted it to be free from the political intrigues that would happen at the council level. The council didn't even appoint the commissioners. Judges from the district court were responsible for appointing them.
And that is because we were a charter city back then. So it was a whole different.
Yeah, we were charter
process.
city, but that was how they set it up. They were so concerned that political decisions would start affecting the utility.
Well, I'll admit, I'm the one that had them put this on mainly because we've got the lack of a supervisor at the Water and Light Commission, we got a lack of a supervisor at the Street Department, and there has been discussion before in a few years ago when, I think when Butch went and retired, that we were looking at the possibility of combining the PUC with the street department and having one supervisor for the whole office. At that point in time, that's about all that happened was discussion. I only discuss this because in my position, I feel that we need to be transparent and let people know that there's a vacant spot down at the PUC and a vacant spot at our street department. And
Well, I gotta
without
say that-
discussing it, we're not giving the public the right to know what's going to happen, and that there are other options out there than just be saying, doing status quo.
Okay, well, I gotta point out that the Utility Commission voted to eliminate the position. So it's not a vacant position, it's a position that was being phased out at the end of the year.
Okay?
So it's not a position that was intended to fill.
Which brings up one of my concerns and why I'm bringing it up to the public now, is I don't understand, I've never seen an organization or a business run without a supervisor overseeing everyday stuff,
Okay, but we have 3 supervisors down there. In fact, one of them's the office manager.
right?
Right now, the office manager is the go-to person, contact person.
And I know that because of state statute and stuff, it's nothing that we're gonna be able to put on the ballot, because we got until Friday to do it.
Yeah, I
But-
know, I thought it was
but
never
it-
gonna happen, but.
It's not gonna happen, but it's still a discussion that needs to be happening. You know, the public deserves the right to know whether or not, what the direction is, and we haven't had a whole lot of communication from the Water and Light Board as far as telling us why they did anything they did. And so now maybe this'll initiate some action, and we'll get more of an explanation rather than, we do our thing, you don't worry about us, and we got people out in the community saying, well, they're all the city, why don't you have anything to say about it? Well, that's not the way it was set up, and there's a lot of people don't understand it. So I think the communication channels have to open up and no more of this, we do things our way and you do things the way you need to, and that's basically the way I feel, so. Is there any-
Was there a reason behind choosing eliminating the position versus vacating the position that Paul no longer is there?
Yes, the utility decided that we had become top-heavy. There was a time when we had 2 foremans and a superintendent. And now we have 2 supervisors and an office manager and a superintendent. And more of the duties that the requirements out there, they become computerized, they become automated, and federal mandates have made it such that Missouri River Energy Services that we get our electricity from has to handle a lot of that stuff for us. They aggregate it with all of their customers.
So,
So-
saying basically that what would have required a supervisor's skills,
Well,
skill set and
superintendent,
knowledge.
a superintendent.
Superintendent's knowledge base to fulfill the duties, to fill out the paperwork, to do what's needed at a federal level is no longer required because Missouri River is doing it.
It's required to the extent that we can't do it ourselves, and it's being contracted out essentially. The duties, the requirements have made it so that things are contracted out, and computers have automated a lot of the work. I mean, we're getting mostly automated meters in town. We'll wrap that up in the not-too-distant future. That means all of the meter readers is automated. Nobody will be out reading meters anymore, except for a couple people would prefer not to have an automatic meter, and they'll have to be read. And that means there's no data entry back at the office for those meters, and the bills are automatically
So then
done by
everything is
computers.
scaling
So,
down? We're
yeah,
looking
all of that office work is being automated. And all of the supervisory requirements for all that office obviously are going away as well.
And that looks like the future of the PUC means probably less people.
Yes, in fact, a lot of the small municipals actually contract with Missouri River for lineman crews. They no longer have their own or have a skeleton crew. And there's a crew that Missouri River can provide if you need extra people for a time.
And then the supervisors then report directly to the board.
Yes.
And retain the power to
And that is,
hire,
and that is,
fire.
and that is what it always has been.
Okay.
You know, just like this board, the power to hire and fire has always been with the commission. Disciplinary actions outside of just a written or verbal reprimand have always been at the commission level.
I guess just in a comment in agreement with the transparency is, this is my 4th year on the council, and I've yet to understand what, how everything works over there. So forgive me for asking those questions, but it's never been
Well, we
brought to
haven't
clarity.
had joint meetings much. We had one
Once
not
a
too
year.
long ago.
Right.
We get
We
once
used
a
to-
year.
We used to have them more often. They have kind of fallen by the wayside, I think, to some extent, because we get together, there wouldn't be much to talk about.
It's just interesting to
But,
hear, to know, because a lot of times when I get feedback from people in the city, in the public, that are commenting on something they saw in a city truck, something somebody did, how many guys are working on a job, it comes back to our guys. But people don't understand that Public Utilities has their own employees, but they see a
Yep.
white truck with a Sauk Center symbol on the side and assume that we have ownership and we have control over that.
Yeah.
Separate issue from this.
Yep.
But I'd like to just use this moment to make that clear, because it can be frustrating to have to take
And
feedback
that
when you
is
don't have any.
certainly worth clarifying.
Yeah,
It's, like an enterprise thing. It runs like a business.
Right.
Then the city runs on tax money. The utility has to pay for its needs out of revenue. So rates have to be set for it. We decide what we want to spend, and tax rates are set accordingly. The utility is required to meet a number of obligations, rules regarding energy, and plan accordingly. We have to bill for these things based on usage.
And that's one of the things, like you mentioned, the utility is run like a business. I've never seen a business yet fire the CEO and let the board, the CEO reports to the board, but I've never seen a CEO get fired and let everyone below take over and do what they need to do. That's just, to me, it's just a nervous,
Yes.
like, really?
Well, it
And
has
I've talked
been
to
done.
I've talked to past people that have been on the board and worked at Water and Light, and they're very nervous about this. They don't like it themselves. So I just put it on the agenda for comment, be transparent, let people know, because I don't think a lot of people know that Paul's gone.
yeah.
And that maybe we more likely got to get a joint meeting together and discuss whether or not we want to put the street department position along with the PUC position and make it one.
Well, we can discuss that. I think you're going to have a tough time filling that spot.
Well, there's other towns that have done it, so I'm pretty sure, so. Okay, any other comments or questions?
No, I'm just, I just wonder if people call with questions or complaints, comments, whatever, the hierarchy where those questions, comments, complaints, whatever, is going to be directed either to those two supervisors
Well,
or
it'll be
that
directed
business
to the
office.
office. I mean, it'll go to the utility office, same as always.
Okay,
And it may go to the supervisor, depends on what the question is. It may be handled by the general manager. It'll
Okay.
depend on what the situation is, but that's no different than it would have been. We'd go to the superintendent, and if it was a specific department, it probably would end up over
yeah,
to
but
the
you always got
supervisor.
your answer back from that superintendent.
That's possible. I wouldn't guarantee that, but yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, moving on. 9B, mosquito control, 2019.
Okay, as you know, Darren, or maybe you don't know, but the city had hired Clark Environmental Services to spray Sinclair Lewis Park for mosquitoes for Sinclair Lewis days. And we had overwhelmingly positive response back, and also inquiries about citywide spraying. So we reached out to Clark Environmental, obtained an estimate providing mosquito spraying as a city service. And then we looked at the cost would be like $20 a residence or a household a year, and it could be billed out individually if you so chose. We did talk about that at the operations committee. There's kind of pros and cons. The pros include a low-cost alternative. You know, you have use of the outdoors, use of less cost to the homeowner because they're not out purchasing all that things themselves, less risk of mosquito-borne. The cons are, you know, there is an overall price, and there may be some residents who don't want it. And so it was kind of like looking at the pros and the cons. So the operations committee, they did touch on the subject a little bit, and they felt that maybe the city should, for now, limit the spraying to the city parks, and we would just include it in our budget, and then we can revisit it again at a future date. But, so they are not recommending that we do it on a citywide basis at this time. So this is just kind of some information for you. We haven't really talked about it that much at the council level. And so if anybody had any questions, you know, feel free to answer. Otherwise, we'll just proceed as the operations committee is recommending.
Vicki, was the cost to spray this year, was that one time? Just for that one time?
But they came in on like Monday, and then they came back, I think, on Thursday,
Okay,
or whatever. They sprayed along the park, and then they spray out a distance around it, you know, to control them. The mosquitoes don't travel very far. I
Right.
guess they only travel like 200 feet. And so if they can get it in that area, and so they were out like the next block along the park as well.
okay.
So it was just they came twice, but it was a one-time bill.
Is this something that we've got included for next year's budget, in case it would,
Not for citywide,
okay,
no.
all right.
No, we thought at the operations committee that it would be inappropriate to just be spraying everybody's yard. If you want to deal with it yourself, you're welcome to do that, but
Right. No.
Well, we mentioned about 60% of the mosquito breeding
it's probably
Happens
in
around
the
the
parks
is
anyway.
probably
so,
around
yeah.
parks.
Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so basically just discussion only on that one. 9C, city code amendments.
As you know, we finished the comprehensive plan, so we're going to be embarking on some amendments to the code. Many of them are zoning related, some of them are not, and so there's some the council may want to consider. So these are just kind of a laundry list that we're starting to work on. So if you can look at those, if you think there's some that you don't think we need to start on right away, just let us know. Or if there's some other issues that you think should rank on this list, just let us know that too. And some of the things is like the outdoor storage of RVs, the maximum impervious coverage a person is allowed, the fences, how many vehicles you can have, screening in commercial areas, building maintenance, yard maintenance, driveway minimum and maximums for access. Those are the kinds of things that we'll be starting to work on either at the council or the planning commission level. So if there's some things in there that we didn't list, you know, feel free to give us a call and we'll look at those as well. So no information or no action for you tonight, just information only.
Questions?
These haven't been looked at since the last comp plan, so 2000, assuming?
Well, no, some of these things have been updated with,
Okay.
you know, throughout the years. I think the last zoning ordinance that was completely overhauled was in 2005. And then we've had amendments as we go. So this is more of a, hit the areas that people feel have changed since then.
The one thing is that there's a lot of gray area in a lot of those codes, you know, as far as language.
Right.
Where that you really can't pin a lot of this down to a certain, no, you can't, yes, you can, because, well, what about this? Because of the way the language is, so that's gotta be worked on and
Cleaned up.
Good to look at.
getting taken care of before it gets out of hand. Any other questions or comments? Consent agenda. There's a schedule of claims, unpaid claims, $25,979 or $77.49 for the same total. July checks of $577,104.90. We have resolution number 2018-67, accepting contributions of $141.60 from the men's card playing group to be allocated to the senior center. $1,767.75 from anonymous donators for the dog park. $500 from Community Connections for the Police Night to Unite. $200 from Minnesota National Bank to be allocated to the ambulance department. $100 from Michael and Nancy Nove for the ambulance department. $200 from Minnesota National Bank for the fire department. And $100 Michael and Nancy Nove to be allocated to the fire department. And I want to thank those individuals and groups for their donations on behalf of the city. We have a request from Missy Terrace, DBA Mustang Bar Incorporated, for temporary extension of premise permits for a band on September 15th, 2018 in the back parking lot, Meads Building and Old Main Street Drug Building from 9 p.m. to 12:30. We have a gambling application for an exempt permit request from Pumpkins and Monkeys Nursery School for a raffle on October 28th, 2018 at American Legion Post 67. And we also have a request from Jeff Quistorf representing the American Legion Post 67 for one temporary extension of outdoor liquor permit for the term of 1 day on September 8th, excuse me, for a beanbag tournament in their north parking lot from noon to 11 p.m. Is there any questions or concerns with the consent agenda?
We got one in the back.
What was that, Brian?
The National Bank, the 200 to them, the 100 from no, that was to the police department in 1990.
Not the fire department or not the ambulance?
I think they had some too, but we had donation to us. That check was made to us.
I
Okay,
think he's saying, you know, ambulance night to unite. And,
Oh,
and
okay.
fire department night to unite.
all right, okay. And we can clarify that. The totals are probably right, or,
Well, we had 300, those two, and then 500.
Okay, so the totals are right.
So
okay,
totals are,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. All right, any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi,
Second.
second by Dave. Call the question, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, 5 in favor, none against. Informational items, budget meeting on Monday, 5 o'clock. Anything else for informational? This brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A motion by Dave, do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.